do that. Okay. Well, welcome, your backup plan tribe. For those that are new here, my name is Tina Ginn, and I am an emergency preparedness coach, a best-selling author, a financial expert, and an app developer of Your Backup Plan app. And I'm located here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. You can expect product reviews and workshops, tutorials, and tips and tricks from our great interviewees that we interview every single week with their real life stories from real life people. Those are always the best. So if you're new here, go ahead and click on the button, a subscribe button down below, and tap on the bell so you get notified of any upcoming videos. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Glenda Standeven. She's in the Vancouver area as well. She's an author, an optimist, a motivational speaker, and best of all, an amputee cancer survivor. Welcome, Glenda. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me, Tina. I don't think I've ever been introduced as best of all an amputee and cancer survivor, but that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And you should be proud of that because it's made you who you are today. All of this whole journey, whether we like it or not. So,
yeah,
Glenda,
it was definitely the push.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey that brought you to this point in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And Tina, you and I were talking earlier about that. Sometimes we have a push to lead us in the direction we are meant to go. And it's not often the kind of push we like to get.
No.
But for me, I was happily married 5 years into our marriage. We had a beautiful 3-year-old, and I wanted to try and have another child, but I had a little pain in my hip. And I thought, well, if you're pregnant, I should get this looked after because I want to be able to walk while I'm pregnant. And when we examined it further and further, and we found out that this was an sarcoma, a cancer, and we needed to have an operation, and that was a very rare one, actually. It ended up being a hemipelvectomy. And with my kind of cancer, not many bone cancer patients survive. So it was in my hip and pelvis, and I ended up with a hemipelvectomy, and that was no hip and no pelvis. So they took the whole hip and pelvis out on the right side.
And wow, that's amazing.
It was a very big surgery, and afterwards I remember thinking, now what? You know, here I am, an active 32-year-old, and you end up with a 3-year-old at home, 4-year-old who turned in March, and I'm going, holy smokes, this was absolutely life altering. And how do you redefine yourself from being active, able-bodied, the person who goes out and opens doors for people, to standing in front of a door going, it's too heavy, I can't open it. I was 105 pounds. I was so thin and so weak, and just totally different than the active, healthy person my husband married. And really, it became a challenge for me to redefine myself. But I don't know if your readers need this. A lot of people are traumatized to the point where they are in bed and they pull the covers over their head and they just go, I can't cope with this. But I had a little bit of a premonition dream where I saw myself as 83-year-old lady with 2 legs, and I had raised a nice family. In my dream, I had 2 boys and raised them, and they were lovely, and it was an easy life, a nice life. And I remember thinking at the end of it, well, that's it? That's all there was? There's got to be more than just this. And a voice said in my dream, this is your life on one leg. And I relived the life, and I saw the speaking and the writing the book, the traveling, meeting people, speaking in large groups, small groups, to other amputees, to to children. It was an amazing journey on one leg that I would never have had on two. So at the end, the voice says, "This choice I give you." And I went, wow, okay. I woke up and I wrote in my journal, after the dream I had last night, I know I'm going to lose my leg and it's going to be okay. And up until that point, it hadn't even occurred to me that this was going to be an option with the little niggle pain in my hip that I had been feeling. But after that dream, I mentally prepared myself to live this life of fullness and challenges that was so much more difficult than the two-legged journey. But at the end, it's what made my life worthwhile. That challenge, that adversity that I faced made my life worth living. And not that a fluffy life, an easy life isn't worth living, but it was so much more meaningful. And I didn't get to have a do-over at 83, but in my dream, I did. So I appreciated that gift. And I lived that gift. And I never told anyone about that dream because I thought they'd think I was nuts. But it was absolutely what steered my ship in the right direction to make the changes, to accept what happened to me, to be braver in the face of adversity. So that's what I would like to tell all the people that are listening to the podcast is when adversity happens, don't look at it as a curse. Figure out the gift that it's bringing, the push to make the changes, the push to get your affairs in order, the push to make the career decision that you've been putting off because you're scared, and to be able to say, you know what, this is my opportunity, not this is my adversity. This is my opportunity to make the changes that I need to. The best scenario would be if I had made those decisions with two legs. If I had been able to live making those kind of career decisions where I became a motivational speaker, where I wrote books still, where I followed my dream about speaking to people at conferences and seminars and workshops and that with two legs. But that wasn't the path that was best for me, even though this one-legged journey is way harder, way more challenging than the two-legged one was. It's also more fulfilling. I've met amazing people on my journey. I've touched lives and have had lives touch mine that I never would have had if I'd had just the two-legged, easier life.
The easy life, the easy one.
Easier.
They wanted you to feel it, obviously.
Exactly. And to be able to, I think, also to relate to other people who have gone through this sort of thing and who are struggling, and to say, hey, look at it, you know, it's a bad thing, yeah, but it can also be a really, really good thing. And you know what, one thing I want to say is that people would often come up and go, oh, you poor thing, I'm so sorry for you, you know, I don't understand why this bad thing had to happen to such a good person. And if I'd had two legs, I would have wanted to run screaming away from that kind of sympathy, because it was condescending. I felt it was just not who I was. I was strong, I was powerful, and I was not going to let cancer define or defeat me. And to have someone to look at me with such pity, and I went, no, I'm doing great. I'm still here. The leg was just extra, you know, it didn't define the part of me that's here in my heart and in my head, that's not touched by a limb. So for me to be able to tell people to go out and to find their courage, to be able to prepare for the worst, but to expect the best. And I think that's really important, really, really important. So,
I think I'll make sure I put that in my blog, because you should repeat that. That's absolutely wonderful statement. I'm definitely going to keep that. I write a blog on the Sunday. Your podcast comes out on the Tuesday for listeners, and Thursday I do a live video. So that statement means a lot to people.
Prepare for the worst, but expect the best. And your work does that for people, helps them to do that while they've still got all their body parts before they get hit by the bus or the car or whatever, that changes their life forever. Do it while you've still got everything intact. And then it frees you up so much to just go on living. Just
Yeah.
do all the living you can while you're able to. And I think that for me, that was what helped, and to surround myself with the people who uplifted me, the people who would come up and go, wow, that really sucks, but look at you go, girl. And you go, yeah, that's it. Those are the people I wanted to be with in my life, not the ones that went, oh, you poor thing, I feel so sorry for you. No, don't feel sorry for me. I'm still here. You can feel sorry for the ones who are in bed with the covers over their head, but that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you found the strength in you. You had great support, but you haven't touched on how it changed your relationship, because I'm sure either some spouses run as far as they can the other direction and some spouses get even closer.
Oh, that's so funny you should say that, because Chicken Soup for the Soul picked up one of my short stories called Some Men Run. And that's exactly what it was. Some men run. And I was very blessed that mine didn't. I'll recount the little story from there. When this happened, that was one of the things that I was worried about, was that, will my husband love the new me? Because this is definitely not the woman he married. We were active, we played ball, we bike ride, we did sports together. We were just that kind of an active family. And then to all of a sudden have this happen, that's not who we married. This is someone different. And the first time we were together intimately after my surgery, and I was in his arms, and I'm scared. I'm really scared that, how is this going to be? Is this going to be something that he's not attracted to? Is he going to be able to love the new me? And he held me in his arms, and I was crying, and he said, honey, don't cry. I love you. I didn't marry you for your legs. And he looked at me,
I
and
hope
I'm
not.
thinking, oh my God, this man is so wonderful. He whispered,
he was a breast man or a leg
he
man or
was,
something.
yeah, that's what he said. Exactly that. He goes, don't you know by now that I'm a boob man? And we just laughed, and it eased the tension. And laughter was what steered us into wholeness again, into wellness. As a couple, we learned to laugh about almost everything. Every time I fell down, he'd go, well, that was really graceful.
Yeah.
My friends would do the same. They'd be like, oh, are you okay? And then they would laugh, and then when they knew I wasn't hurt, we'd laugh about it, because, oh man, I've taken some great tumbles, and just, I the prosthesis doesn't work so well. I tried it for a couple of years, but when I got pregnant, and I did get pregnant again.
Wow.
My surgery, we decided that we didn't want to be just a one-child family. So that little boy that I saw in that two-legged dream came to be. And so we have two sons, and that second one was pretty much a little miracle boy. There was only, in the world at that time documented, were 16 births like him, 16. And so I approached it like, well, if 16 other women could do it, so can I.
Did you have a cesarean then?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh. How on earth?
A womb with a view. And I did a video of it too. I should put it on YouTube sometime and get that out there for people to see, because it was pretty impressive how it worked, having this little miracle boy brought into the world.
That's Amazing.
It was
But I guess the good thing your leg didn't get in the way, because I remember me, I was like, okay, leg, get out of the way.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, we called it a womb with a view.
Did you have to rest a lot because of not the balance that you couldn't
Um,
support it
I went
as
to
you got
Oklahoma,
bigger?
had a special leg made while I was there. It was a pregnancy leg, and the bucket, it was the flaps would expand as my belly grew, so that those flaps just opened up and grew with me, so it supported the pelvic bone on that side in place of the pelvis. The prosthesis cupped the stump area, and then when I would wrap up with miles of tensor bandage to support it as well, to give it the stability. And then we were struggling in the hospital. I remember going, why is this baby just, it seems like he wants to come, but he's banging his head against the wall because like the womb, the pelvic bone wasn't there to guide him. So it worked out just great. He once I figured out that he was actually pushing into the stump, trying to find the door. When I realized that his head was where his head was knocking on, I just put my hand there with every contraction and pushed so that his little head was
Would be
guided down to where
guided.
the canal was. Yeah, so just pushed and guided him out. And as soon as I clued into that, it was just a matter of minutes before he came out. So
Wow, what a
it was very,
story.
very exciting.
I hope he feels like he's blessed, because he is.
I think he knows how blessed he is. He's had challenges too, having kids with learning disabilities, which um, he has, it's not a big one, it's called written output disability, where he has to read things several times before it'll go in. And once
It's
we
frustrating.
into that, it was frustrating for him. He's just like, why can't I get it? So we learned that he was an auditory learner. He could learn by hearing rather than reading. So if you tell him things, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. So all through school, I just read his textbooks to him, and he'd retain everything he heard. By 2 years old, he was singing the alphabet, the whole alphabet. And I'm going, he's two. I'm sure he's not supposed to be able to do that. But yeah, if you say it, he hears it, he'll remember it and retain it. But it's not the same as reading. And if school is geared towards people who read, it doesn't work for all those kids who are auditory learners.
Right.
Yeah,
I,
and people need to find their strengths and find that the way to learn, the thing that appeals to them, and labeling people as, oh, well, they're just stupid or they're slow, or, no, they just haven't figured out which way they learn. And
right.
I'm so glad that schools are now making changes to identify which way kids learn best.
Because the usual part of the story is that they're very, very intelligent, and it's just finding the way that they express and learn. So
Exactly, exactly. He's a show me and I'll do it.
yeah, oh, that's awesome. And I think what it brings us to realize with your stories is that we all have that, we need that toolbox to find what we need to work around. I don't have a leg. Okay, that's okay. I'll find another way. I want to get pregnant. Okay, I'll find another way. I want to birth it naturally. Okay, I'll find a way. And I think it's just that whole adversity of that's okay. I'll find a way.
Like creative problem solving, that's always been something that's really appealed to me. Is if there's something that's wrong, let's figure out a way to fix it. If there's something that's not working just right, let's see if we can, find a different route to get to the end that we want. So I really admire people who can creative problem solve and not just sit there and moan and weep about what's wrong in their lives, but they can make the changes to make it right. Yeah.
Could you see during COVID now, going through this journey like you have, what a difference it would have been to go through it this year for any listeners that maybe are going down that, I need to
Yeah.
get surgery. I just had surgery. It's a whole new life. And
Yeah, and I think it would definitely be harder without your tribe to support and encourage you if you have this if you don't have that spouse at home who is supportive. And my husband was an absolute rock. I tell you, he was one of those people that before I knew he was a nice guy. I knew that, or I wouldn't have married him. He was a nice guy, but I did not know how strong he was. I didn't know that he could carry me.
Mhm.
I always assumed that we would carry each other. But when I was not able to carry myself at all, he stepped in and he filled the role as a caregiver for our son. He filled the role as the provider, sole provider. He did all those things and nurtured and encouraged me to become
Supported
better.
you.
Exactly. He supported me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He did all those things. He prayed with me. He did things that were way out of his comfort zone.
Isn't that
Way.
amazing? It brings
Yeah,
out the best out of people sometimes.
it absolutely can. And that's why when you said that about some men run, you know what? Some men stay. And those are the keepers. Those are the ones who are absolutely worth keeping. And if the ones that run, they often feel like failures. They can't fix us, and men are fixers. If they can't fix us, they feel like they failed. They're no good for anything. They'll leave. Whereas really, they don't understand that we don't need fixing. We just need supporting and encouraging and love. But yeah, a lot of men don't explore that feeling inside them, and they'll leave. They just think, well, I can't fix it. I'm gone.
And
That's
I
sad.
think sometimes people need to know that it's okay. You just need to find that support. Not only do you need the tender, loving care, but you also need the slap on the side of the head sometimes.
Yeah, get out of bed, you lazy thing. There's
Like,
nothing wrong with you. What? You're not missing two legs. You're only missing one.
exactly. So there's people out there with not having two legs or not any arms. What's your deal?
Exactly. So yes, sometimes we do need a little bit of a boost for sure to get yourself motivated. But I'm not saying a mean boot. Yeah, there's
No,
a
it's a
difference.
loving boot.
A loving, a loving boot, a loving nudge in the right direction to wellness. And having a spouse or a friends in your life, family in your life who do that, it meant the world to me. I was so blessed that I didn't have that many friends or people in my life who saw me as, oh, you poor thing. Mostly that attitude of, oh, you poor thing, was from strangers. They'd see me in the lineup at the bank or at the store or whatever, and they'd go, oh, what happened to you? You poor thing. You're you're so pretty. I'd get that a lot. You're so pretty. And I'd go, you know what? That's got absolutely nothing to do with my leg being gone or how I approached wellness. The outside package is nothing. It's what the strength you have in here that gets you through.
Right.
So,
So, Breast Cancer Awareness Month also brings up a few different things as well. You probably know some breast cancer survivors. How do you think that would have made you feel comparing losing your leg to losing your breasts?
that is such a good question, Tina. Um, I think because my amputation is so visible, so that it's right in your face, and it changed me forever. Whereas a woman's femininity and their self is often identified by their breasts, like my husband said, he's a boob man.
Yeah.
And then you have that the breast is gone. You feel different on the inside, and the outside should look different, but because of prosthesis, because you can hide it with clothes, and it's not visible disability. It's something that's changed. It's really, I think, sometimes harder because people don't see you as being different. If you walk by on the street and they go, "Hey, how you doing?" And you
Yeah.
want to go, "My life is too changed. It's completely shattered. It's totally. I have cancer." And you go, "Oh, you'd never know it by looking at you. You look fabulous, and you can't see." So yeah, I do think it's harder sometimes, Tina, to have that. I'm sorry, my husband's opening something really noisy in the background there. Are you almost done, Rick?
She wants a coffee. Hi,
So
Rick, by the way. Hi.
he's waving. But yeah, it's
Yes,
definitely harder for, I
I,
think, for breast cancer patients than someone like me whose
right.
amputation is visible, whose change is visible. For breast cancer patients, that change is invisible except to their spouses or the people they're intimate with. It's not something that just anyone would notice, and
Right.
yet they're
And I,
forever
I
changed.
I felt the same way because after having a car accident, you have a brain injury. Some people have brain injuries, but they don't hold, and no one holds the door for you. Nobody talks to you any differently. They just see the outside package, and they, think everything's fine. Whereas there were times when I could hardly walk up the curb or the step to the door, let alone try to open the door and conceptually see glass and doorways as well. So you can see that, um, as bad as it was with people saying the pity party with senior leg, but at the same time, they could visually see it. Whereas a brain injury and those kinds of things, people can't see. So I think it
And
brings out the real people beside you, the real friends that will call and ask you how you're doing and want the true answer of how your day is and not just it's okay.
exactly. And we do know who those people are in our lives. The ones people, no, really, I want to know how you are. And you're going, "Okay, well, I've had a really tough week, or a day, or a month, or a year, or whatever, however
Yeah.
long it's been." Yeah, you definitely need friends in your life who do that for you. So, and you're right, having a visible disability is an advantage. It truly is, because we do get offers of help much more readily than someone whose disability is hidden, isn't visible.
Right.
And that's just as valid. Your disability still needs support and encouragement, love, and yeah, it's tough.
Right. When you were so young when this happened to you, um, but how do you think, did that trigger something about not being prepared? Really? I mean, nobody says, I always say to people, it doesn't matter how old you are. Life is going to turn and swing and hit you at some point, whether it's a sickness or an injury or an event, a flood or earthquake or something is going to happen. And God doesn't have an age. They don't care if you're 85 or 32. So did you feel like once this happened in your life and thinking, well, gosh, I have so much stuff to get organized. I really didn't think of being planned for anything.
Absolutely. I don't even think we had a will drawn up when I got sick, but we certainly did after. And again, it was that little push going, people die of cancer. I have cancer. And then you just think,
Yeah.
now is that push. I have to be prepared. It would be so much better if we could prepare while we're well. If we could prepare for the end that is inevitable to each and every single one of us, and none of us come with a little stamp on our hand, expired on, expiry date is going to be the year so and so, the day, the month. We don't come with that. So preparing for our expiration dates well in advance is so important, Tina, and that's why your work is really valuable, to be able to help us prepare and to know where the wills are, to know where our insurance policies are, to know how to pay the bills, to know what kind of food our cat eats.
To
All that sort of
know
thing.
where our shit is what I always say to people.
Absolutely. And yeah, it definitely did push us to prepare for the worst, expect the best. And once we had the preparations made I had my insurance policy done for my funeral. If I were to die, we had a plot picked out. We had all our ducks in a row for me, and not thinking that maybe my husband might be the one that would leave first. And it took him getting prostate cancer, uh, 2012, I guess it was, he had his surgery. So then we went, we better be prepared for you too. So, a little slow on the uptake, learning that, yeah, we have to have his insurance policy in place. We have to have the double plot picked out for both of us, not just me. So we did all that together, which made it a really interesting date day.
Well,
We
yeah,
went to and did it all. We made
well,
sure everything was
it's
done.
true, because you need those family conversations. And in our blueprint that we're creating for the month of November for memberships, there will be a worksheet on how to have a family meeting. And it could be just with you and your partner. It could be you and your kids and your partner. It could be extended family, sister, brothers. It could be parents, because not only are we maybe not prepared, but they're not prepared either.
Exactly.
So it's like what you came into. Oh, well, I'm awake with me getting my crap together. What about you?
Like I said, we're a little slow learners here, but now it's done. We've got a folder done, and we make sure that the kids know where everything is, and started getting rid of garbage too. Like,
Yes.
we had so much stuff that we were never going to use it, and our kids certainly didn't want it or need the hassle of going through uh, a lifetime, and not just my lifetime, our parents' lifetime, because you inherit your parents' stuff when they go. And I went, do I really want to leave our kids our stuff to go through like I had to when my mom left? No, I don't. I want to make it easy for them, and so that's just a really important thing too. I hope what part of your program helps get rid of stuff.
Yes, and we have to get rid of stuff that it just creates chaos and um, unsettlingness amongst our living world, as well as those negative people. We need to release them and
Mm,
away from our journey as well, because they're not serving us. So
absolutely. That's so
we have to get
so
rid of the crap, no matter what it looks like, I guess.
I couldn't agree more. And actually, getting rid of the negative people in your life is a lot harder, I think, than tossing, an extra egg beater. It's
Yes.
just, it takes
Or cleaning your
a
closet.
lot of strength, yeah, to be able to release people from your life that are negative.
Yes.
I was lucky. I didn't have, looking back, I'm going, who did I cut? Nope, but I sure invited a lot more positive into my life. So
That's the
yeah,
only way of doing it, though, is getting rid of the negative to bring in the positive. You probably did it and you didn't even know it.
you're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, I just, I know that I love my circle of friends. I think friendships are really important. Really important.
Especially this year.
Yeah, no kidding. To be able to do a Zoom meeting like this and chat with someone, it's not as good as getting that hug in person. but it still fills a gap. It helps. It really does help to be able to see your face and to not just talk on the phone, but to actually see you.
Right. Do you have any tips of how you're looking at life now? And I mean, you've written, let's see, you've written, is it 3 books? I'm just trying.
I've written one that I co-wrote with some friends when we were all in our cancer. One had been diagnosed in her, I was in my 30s, Michelle was in her 20s, and Julie was in her 40s. So we wrote a book about 20s, 30s, 40s, and how our lives were before, during, and long after. And then I wrote my story, I Am Choosing to Smile, it's on Amazon, and that also deals with my life before as a brat and the cancer bump, and we always say a whole lot of whoopee after.
Yeah.
So, and then Rick, when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, we learned so much the hard way, and we thought, okay, how are we going to take this and put it into a positive? Because that's always sort of my mission, is to say adversity, no, we're going to look at it as opportunity. And so we took it as an opportunity to share our journey with other patients and spouses especially. So that one's called What Men Won't Talk About and Women Need to Know. And it's a very good story about prostate cancer from a woman's perspective, the changes in a man that happen and all that, all the things that you really do need to know and you don't know to ask. And then I wrote 3 short stories as well that are picked up by Chicken Soup for the Soul over the last 4 years.
And what were they? Did you remember the titles of those?
One, let's see, one of the Chicken Soup ones is The Miracle of Love. And I think that was the one that's called Some Men Run. That my short stories in there is Some Men Run. And there's one, Miracles in the Unexplained, or Unexplainable, I think. Miracles in the Unexplainable. That was about that dream I had of that foretold about my cancer journey. And let's see, and what was the last one, Rick? Miracles. Then there's another one here. It's gone. But it's on my website. I'm sure it's on my website.
Do you have any tips for anyone going through this at the moment, either helping someone going through it or going through it themselves this year? Do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah. If you have been diagnosed with cancer, I would really encourage you to find the people who have survived your type of cancer and connect with them. Join an online support group. Being able to focus on the positive stories, the people who have survived, rather than the people that come up and go, oh, my aunt died of that, or, I have an uncle who, and you're going, no, tell me about the uncle that survived. Tell me about your grandmother who died at 94 and had a breast cancer operation at 45. Those are the ones you want to focus on. So make sure you surround yourself with positive people. Don't feel sorry for yourself for too long. It's okay to have that little bit of a pity party because it does suck. It really does suck. Cancer sucks no matter which way you look at it. But if you can feel sorry for yourself for this much and then say, but what's good about it? I'm still here. I've got a wonderful circle of friends. I've got a loving spouse. I have my faith. I have and soon your jar of gratefulness and gratitude and the things you appreciate is full. And you go, okay, this is just a little stone and a little stumbling block. I'm going to get over this. And even if you don't, if you've got all your stuff prepared, you're prepared for the end, if you're prepared to, inevitably, we're all going to die, then it frees you up to live. It absolutely, go jump out of an airplane if you want. Don't pull the ripcord if you don't want. Whatever works for you. But prepare yourself to live absolutely as full as you can. And that's what my tip for anyone going through cancer at this time is to find the upside. Find the upside. Feel sorry for this much time and be grateful for all the rest.
How do you flick the switch from the pity party to that's okay? I've got this. How do you flick that
That
switch?
that's another very good question, Tina. I think it's going to be different for everyone. For some people, it will be the faith, the prayer. The prayer switch goes on and go, okay, if this is my lot, if this is what I've been dealt, how am I going to make it serve others? How am I going to make it serve a greater good? And to be able to find the pluses in your in that little bit of a uh, um, misfortune, then I think you're okay. And it's going to be different for everyone, whether you find it in a renewed faith, a renewed strength, inner strength. You find how strong you are. You find out that, yeah, I'm vulnerable, but I have a wonderful support group that I can count on. You might find all sorts of things that you didn't appreciate or acknowledge beforehand in your life that all of a sudden mean so much more because of your adversity or your cancer. So definitely looking for the switch is important to find out what's going to turn it around for you. Whether it's getting healthy, to all of a sudden go, you know what? I haven't been taking care of myself, and I really deserve to be taken care of. Who's going to do that for me if I don't start? So you start eating better, you start exercising more, you start looking out for um,
Doing the
yourself,
things you love.
doing the things you love. And sometimes doing the things you don't love as well, like getting organized is your forte and you help us make it easier. For me, getting organized, oh my gosh, that was my nightmare job was
Yes.
to file. I hate it. I would have a pile that I go, I'll get to it, and that pile's getting bigger, and finally you just go, okay, do it. And an hour later you're done, and you go, why was I putting that off? What was I so afraid of that I put off that simple task of filing? And yet for you, your system helps. It makes it so much easier for us. So
Well,
thank you
that's
for making that app.
thank you for saying that. I always think every time I do a video, because I'm preparing for the videos for the membership program, and I always think, gosh, everybody's going to say, Tina, you made that so easy. Why was I worried about it? Because, it is easy when you can get a coffee, you could have a nice little dessert, and you can flick on the video and just like, this is simple. So that was my goal.
And I think keeping it simple is important to be able to work through stuff and keep things simple. And really, there's not that much that when people say, "Oh, it's very complicated," and you go, "Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." And it's just that simple. Just cover up the rest of the page and look at step one.
Right.
My son with the learning disability taught me that. Cover up the rest of the page and look at one.
Well, and that definitely does fall part of the brain injury or the brain part of mechanism because it's overwhelming to the brain.
It is.
And I only know that from what I've gone through because even different floors, you might have carpet or squares or wood or vinyl or all these different types of flooring. It's like giving somebody a whole bunch of paperwork and your brain just goes, oh my God, I can't do this.
It absolutely shuts you down.
Yeah.
So learning how to eat that elephant one bite at a time is very key to getting yourself organized to be able to just
Yeah. That's
get
why I give
through.
you the toolkit. Here's the toolkit. You're off and raring to go now.
Yeah, and I love tools.
Well, I am so blessed to have met you, so blessed to have brought you onto this podcast show today. It's been a blessing for me. I love all my real people that I get to interview.
Oh,
Uh, and I'm sure I'll have you back here for maybe Rick's half of the story.
Oh, that would be
That
awesome.
would be fun.
He's very shy. He says, honey, you can go on camera. He says, but just don't put me. Even for the cover of the book that we did with him called What Men Won't Talk About, I had our son was there, and I said, honey, I want to get a picture of you. Just do this. And he goes, okay. So he stood there in the hallway and he goes like this. And that was my book cover. I had it in my head that I was going to go, what men won't talk about and women need to know. So he's doing this. And when the book arrived and he goes, hey, that's me on the book cover. He had no idea that he was actually posing for the cover of the book. But
That's so sweet.
that's very sweet.
We got him. He didn't even know it.
I got him, and it was the perfect cover because men just don't like to talk about being weak or sick or not broken, but they perceive themselves that way. So it was definitely a perfect cover.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to read that story.
I hope you'll like it. You'll know
I'm
more about us than you ever thought you'd want to know.
Oh, but that's okay, because I'm sure there's deep stories and then there's lighthearted ones as well.
There is. Absolutely. Yeah.
But thank you for coming out to our listeners today and sharing your amputee story. It's a delight. It's motivational. I hope we have inspired and motivated everyone to look at their own situation, and because it will make a huge impact on you and those that you love around you, because they need also to be prepared. Our website is yourbackupPlan.ca. Our weekly podcasts are on 8 different platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, because family does matter. And I will link down below all of your connections to your books as well as your website. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, they will be able to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I welcome it if they need to chat, if they're scared, if they're worried and they need just someone to be a positive influence.
Awesome. Well, I know everyone, I'm sure you've now just gotten a new friend in your life, because I know I have. And I'm delighted to have her come back again sometime in the new year. Maybe 2021 will be a whole other world for us. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I think that you have so many quotes that I will be sharing with everyone, because it truly is motivational. And I'm truly blessed to have you come out and speak today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for the good work you do as well, Tina. It's appreciated and necessary.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. And till next week, see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.